I'm still alive and my final 104 days of summer vacation have begun. Never mind that it's still finals week and I technically haven't finished school yet. It's summer! So I've loved the summer months my whole life, and it's by far my favorite season of the year. And I think this love of summer began when I was about 3 years old. I had just started preschool, and from the very beginning, I didn't want to go to school. I don't fully know why, but something about being forced to leave everything I loved at home and go sit in a classroom for 5 days of the week really didn't sit right with me. The very first preschool my parents tried to put me in, I walked in and immediately decided I didn't like the place. I didn't even try to interact with any of the other kids or start playing. I just walked up to my teacher and asked, and I'm quoting directly from 3-year-old Scott here, to speak to the director. That's right, I was going full Karen. So the woman in charge of the preschool came out and I politely asked her what the clock was going to look like when my parents would come back. She told me, so I sat down and watched the clock. At some point I think they tried to encourage me to participate in whatever activity they were doing, but I literally did not move until my parents came. I still remember this. I was very polite and I did not throw a tantrum. The same cannot be said for my second experience with preschool. I promise this is relevant to why I love summer, by the way. Anyway, my parents compromised with me and said I would only have to go to school on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I agreed to their parlay right up until Monday morning when my mom took me to school. She dropped me and my brother Nate off and he immediately went to go play. However, I stood up tall, gathered every shred of my dignity, and immediately started crying and begging not to go. I held onto my mom's leg and I just screamed and was so sad. Eventually, she managed to dislodge me and I went into my first day at this new preschool. And lo and behold, once I stopped crying, I loved it. When I got home, I showed my parents all the fun arts and crafts we had made, and my mom was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. My tantrum had just been first day jitters, but she was not ready for the intellect of 3-year-old Scott, because the very next day when she went to drop me off, the exact same thing happened. I cried and begged not to go and threw the exact same fit. This happened every single day from early August to late November. I kind of have to respect my game from 15 years ago. I was just so dedicated to wearing my mom down, but she didn't back down, and eventually I got used to going to preschool. The spring semester happened, I turned 4 in March, and in May, my very first summer vacation began. And it was incredible. 3 whole months of no anxiety related to school and just days and days of having fun with my brother. Just a couple weeks after school ended, we went to Disneyland for the first time, and I loved it so much. It was like a magical place that I thought only existed in stories, and you can watch back through some of my other videos to hear about my first time at Disney. As the years went by, I made more peace with going to school. However, the anxiety never left. I would still wake up every single day terrified. When I was actually at school, I didn't hate it, but the anticipation and the anxiety was just awful. Every single weekend felt like being set free, and Monday felt like the shackles were being put back on. But that meant that every single summer was the ultimate freedom. Our yearly trips to Disneyland became the kickoff point for summer and allowed me to leave behind all the books and homework of school and just go into days of fun and imagination. Then just a couple years after starting preschool, we were at Disneyland and we saw these 2 characters walking around that we didn't recognize. One had a triangle-shaped head with an orange and white striped shirt, and the other had purple overalls and a rectangle head. When we got back home, we found out they were called Phineas and Ferb, and that summer we watched their show. And immediately I identified with them. They were creative, had big imaginations, and the 2 most important things in their life were summer and brothers. They were just like me and Nate. I still love Phineas and Ferb to this day, and I'm so excited for the new episodes coming out in a month. And I think that my thoughts on summer are perfectly summed up by them. In 2011, the first Phineas and Ferb movie, Across the Second Dimension, came out. I didn't watch it until a few years later, but when I did, I loved it. The whole movie is great, and I might make a video about it later this summer, but one part always stood out to me. When they go to the alternate dimension, they find versions of themselves who have never experienced the summer, and they have to explain it to them. And this being a Phineas and Ferb movie, they do so in song. And ever since I listened to it in 2013 or so, it has been my favorite song ever. I'll leave a link to it in the description, and you should definitely go listen to it. So why do I love summer so much? Well, in the words of Phineas and Ferb, every single moment is worth its weight in gold. It's like the world's best story, and it's waiting to be told. Thanks for watching. Nate, I'll see you tomorrow.